return on January 9th, which is very close to the inauguration date. And that's one of the reasons that I do feel he will wind up becoming victorious and triumphant as the president, because that it's a once-in-12-year cycle, and it all points to his humanitarian ideals and to his ability to lead humanity in a different, positive direction. And another interesting point in his chart is the ascendant at 18 degrees Aquarius. And on December 18th, Carmen, he has, by progression, secondary progressed moon will be conjunct his ascendant. And for your listeners, basically progressions are a way astrologers use to predict the future and predict events coming up in your life. The secondary progressed moon is your emotional evolution in the birth chart. It's how you grow emotionally. And when it crosses your ascendant, that only happens once every 29 years. That's a time of new beginning, new birth. It is a very, very fortunate time in your life when it happens. This man has the secondary progressed ascendant on his, crossing on December 18th, and then he has a Jupiter return on January 9th. And as if that wasn't enough, Carmen, we have the eclipse. The solar eclipse on January 26th is conjunct his natal Jupiter. So solar eclipses, they bring dramatic changes to you if you have a degree on your birth chart that it touches the solar eclipse. Solar eclipses always mark a time of new beginnings for you. So this is a triple whammy that he has in his birth chart. It's all in the months right after the election, which indicate that the inauguration, he would be inaugurated as our president. So I'm very, very optimistic that it will wind up being Barack Obama, because the astrology speaks for itself. This is not a political statement by any means. This is me just looking at the birth chart.
Just interpreting. It's astrology at its best. How can you explain, though, that there is this Uranus squaring midheaven in his chart?
Well, he, with an Aquarius ascendant, okay, he's ruled by Uranus and Saturn. He's going to be a little bit rebellious. He's going to go his own way. I don't think we necessarily see that side of him. I think where it will happen most is in authority. He is not afraid to challenge the existing authority. Okay, Uranus square the midheaven. The midheaven is your
success.
It's your success. It's your point of fame and honors. It's what you become, your legacy, what you become known for. So what he will become known for with Uranus square his midheaven is breaking up the established order, challenging the authority. He's not afraid to do that.
Now, North Node is doing the same thing, squaring midheaven, and that is another thing that I want you to explain.
Okay, the North Node in your birth chart points, it's uncharted territory in this lifetime. It is, again, your life direction, where you're supposed to be, what you are supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be leaning. Now, it is conjunct his Uranus, which says his destiny is to be revolutionary, a revolutionary leader, because this is in the sign Leo. Leo is the leader. And squaring the midheaven is, it's again, saying the same thing as the Uranus square the midheaven, but it's supporting it in the way that it's saying he's meant to do this. His soul will grow and evolve if he does this, even though it's a square. Squares are not bad. Squares are challenges we're here to overcome. True. And when you work with your squares and you work with your oppositions, that's when you grow the most.
Now, he has Mars in the 8th house, and he has Saturn transiting, as far as I know, so I'm just asking, for everybody listening, the 8th house also means the moment of death, or is associated with the house of death. Am I right or wrong?
Yes. The 8th house is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation.
Okay.
And it is his Mars it's actually straddling between the end of the 7th right into the 8th.
Into the 8th, yeah.
You would interpret it more towards the 8th. You're right about that.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that transiting Saturn in the sky right now, like you said, is moving to a conjunction with his Mars. On the day of the election, we have that Saturn-Uranus opposition triggering his Mars.
Yeah.
And that Mars is the co-ruler, the traditional ruler of his midheaven, of his status. So I actually think that Saturn-Uranus opposition Mars is your energy, that will help him. That will help propel him more into his transformation. I do think that he's leading. He will wind up leading our country at a time of significant transformation for the whole country.
And very, very difficult time, because talking about astrology, we do have this situation with Pluto in Capricorn. That, as you explain it very well, Capricorn is an Earth sign, is associated with stock market, with houses and everything that's happening today, is a sign of a contraction. So things are not expanding anymore, so things are narrowing. And how long do you think this is going to last? Another 3-4 years or 12 years?
Well, we're going to see different things happening over the course of the next several years. Okay, because Pluto is a slow-moving planet. Pluto
it takes 230 years, no?
It's about a 248-year cycle, give or take. It depends on what's on the signs, but average. And if you look back to about 240 years ago,
was the Declaration of the Independence. When
Pluto was in Capricorn, it was the American Revolution. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what we will be seeing from an astrological point of view is a repeat of the themes associated with the American Revolution over a several-year period. And the government, the structures as we know it today, will probably no longer exist in the same way 10 years from now. And astrologers everywhere have been saying this. This is very easy to see, because if you look at the United States chart, there's so much Cancer energy. Capricorn is the sign opposite Cancer. And with Pluto going into Capricorn, we can see how it will be opposing the U.S. Venus, then Jupiter, then the Sun and Mercury. It will be opposing all these key planets, changing our infrastructure.
So the infrastructure is pretty much dying. The government has to be changed. We may not even have presidents, stock market, and banks in the future.
You know what, Carmen? Who knows? All we know for sure is that the government we know today will not exist in the way that it does today within the next 10 years, for sure.
And what's going to happen?
I don't know. I couldn't say that. Now, I think you have done some predictions on that, right?
Yeah. Well, I predicted this like 12 years ago.
Yes, I thought that was fascinating when you shared that with me. And look at what's happening now.
Yeah, but, my predictions were not necessarily based on astrology. It was just those visions that I had, and I wrote them down in my first book. And it all happened. I do think we have a caller. Do we still have a caller? What's your name? Hi, Kathleen.
Hello?
Oh, hi, my dear.
Hello, Carmen. This is Kathleen. I called
Hi, Kathleen. How are you, my dear? You listening to the show?
Yes, I was listening to the show.
Okay, so let me introduce you to my dear guest, Maria DeSimone. She's a fabulous astrologer.
Hi, Catalina. How are you?
Hi, Maria. I'm very fine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I want to get started with your birth information, please.
Of course, my birth information, September 3rd, 1961.
And the time of birth?
4 o'clock in the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning, and your location, please, of birth.
It's going to be Romania as well, like the previous listener who called.
Would you please spell the town in Romania?
The town, where?
Onești. What do you have close to that?
Onești, let me see, that will be close.
Bacău, Iași, something like that.
We have to find a place on the map. Is Onești closer to Iași?
Yeah. I think Iași would be the closest.
Let me see if she has it on a map. Will be IASI.
Romania.
Yeah.
All righty. So we have September 3rd, 1961, 4 in the morning in that town in Romania. It's so funny. We're getting all the callers who have Leo rising. And it's not really funny because it makes sense. We're gearing up